This is round one, board two. In Austria, we have Karthik, Konath. England, we have Evan, Swihart. France, we have Morgante, Pell. Germany, Jaxon, Roberts. Italy, Nick, I did this last time. Amatangelo. Russia, we have Andrei, Gribakov. And in Turkey, we have Craig Mayr. We will get right to it. And let's get started. Adam, lead us off.
All right. Do I have a clock?
Yes. Let's bring up the clock.
All right. Well, I'll do my best. Siobhan's a tough act to follow. This was a fascinating game with some really interesting alliance structures, particularly in the north. So let's look at the opening moves, which really set the tone for this game, where we see a French move to the English Channel, I think.
Oh, hang on a second. Trying to
technical difficulties.
Apologize, technical difficulties.
All right, I want my 20 seconds back. Now, okay, so we see a French move to the English Channel and a lot of standard stuff in the east. And if we go into the fall, we see a classic sea lion with the Germans dislodging the North Sea and France taking Belgium. So as we move on to here, what certainly looks like a FG against England. But if we kind of push ahead, this continues in through spring of 1902. But if we push ahead into fall of 1902...
I apologize real quick. I've lost my connectivity to this. Brandon, are you able to take over here?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. I'll go ahead and drop.
No problem. Thanks, Brian. Okay, so let's go into 1902 here if we can.
All right. Just spring.
Yeah, so spring we continue to see the French advance, but the English do manage to kick the Germans out of the North Sea. But in the fall we see kind of a change of direction. Sorry here, Sorry, we don't see the change of direction yet. Sorry, but the important thing here is the Italians moving into Marseille. Sorry, we do. I can't really actually tell what's going on in Belgium, but the Germans and the French are still trying here. We have the French getting Liverpool, but we have the Italians now making an aggressive move against the French, which is really going to change the dynamics here. Noticing in the east also that we have what looks to be a AT against Russia. Advancing on, these kind of alliance structures don't change a great deal, but as we pull into 1904, we see Italy has left their homeland wide open, and the Austrians decide to take advantage of that, continuing to make their progress against Russia using Turkish help, but really walking into a wide open Italy. So this trend continues in the east while the French continue to take out the English, but the Germans start to make their move on France here, which is definitely changing things. Really, there's just a whole lot of shuffling. The French are now dealing with the Italians. The Germans see that opening against France. As we move ahead from here, the Turkish-Austrian alliance eventually shows some instability in around the end of 1905, where we can see Turkey pushing into Greece and Austria making some moves against Austria making some moves to defend against Turkey. It's hard to tell whether this is arranged or not. But ultimately, things sort of settle in pretty rapidly to this kind of structure. I think the other thing that's really interesting is to watch what the Germans and the Russians are doing in the north. They're really completely leaving themselves alone, and you can see that all of Scandinavia is completely empty as we advance through this part of the game. Moving forward into 1907, Turkey is holding out against an Austrian stab. Germany is now making progress against France. Still, Germany and Russia continuing to, for the most part, leave each other alone. We have Germany in the North Sea with a free Edinburgh, a free Norway, but I don't believe he takes it. They continue working together, and we really just push ahead with this alliance structure. Austria and Turkey not making progress with one another, and eventually just calling the draw in 1910.
Okay, and Siobhan, so this is where the game ends. So it gets all the way through 1910, which was the year limit for these Carnage games. So Siobhan, all right, so this is where the game ends. We've got Jaxon in Germany and Andrei in Russia tying for the board top at 10. So despite Germany playing second fiddle for a while, ends up with a split board top. So Siobhan, turn to you.
mean, I think Adam hit all the major points. I got to tell you guys, this is the kind of game that I really, really love to watch. We wound up with a Russian fleet in Portugal. Let's just point that out for a moment because it's beautiful. You know, everyone played a fantastic game here. You know, I really thought Craig had it for a minute when and again, you said, Adam, we don't know if it was arranged or not, but that stab on Austria, when Turkey made that stab, I kind of thought that he would wind up with the board top. But with a game as fluid as this, with players willing to make shifts and alliances to benefit themselves, you never know what's going to happen. And this game went all the way to the time limit. I think that it probably would have had a couple more years of play, and I really would have been interested to see that. And I really want to congratulate Andrei in Russia here. I think he took advantage of some really interesting dynamics on this board as things were shifting to his own advantage. And, you know, you wound up with a shared board top for it. So congratulations.
I kind of breezed through it, but I really do want to highlight the German-Russian cooperation through a lot of this game, and there really was a lot of opportunity for people to do shenanigans. And you know, there were some various bounces that it was hard to tell if those were arranged or not. But it really, I mean, you can look at this final position and say they can both do all kinds of stuff, but you sort of wonder, you know, was there any appetite for it at all? You know, because it was working.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like the story of this game is RG versus AT, right? But I'm sorry, you have two alliances, one of which held and the other one which didn't, and where RG held, AT did not. Did the question I have for you guys is: do you think that either Russia or Germany should have stabbed the other and taken this board top alone?
I mean, in my personal opinion, in Carnage scoring, I'd rather never share a board top. I don't know what was happening in their negotiations. I've heard a lot of players say to me in the interviews we do after games that they would rather share the board top and keep the good relationship with the player rather than stab for it. But I've been going to tournaments for many, many, many years, and I don't like sharing the top if I can avoid it.
I sort of wonder if this game plays another year, if Germany doesn't just say, hey, look, you know, I can take Portugal. I'm just going to do that. And, you know, if you want to try to get one dot off of me, go for it. I mean, maybe Russia can squeeze Belgium or something, but Germany looks to be in a pretty defensible position. What I always worry in these kinds of situations is if they stab each other, say in 1909, 1910, is it really more to their benefit, or is it really going to just get the AT back on track and one of them is going to come out of the box? And I think that was really the risk in this game and probably what kept them together.
And you're talking about in an untimed game where
yeah, I'm talking about
Yeah, you know, the interesting thing about Carnage scoring is that it's there is just not that big of a difference between first and second in terms of points. It's about 3.5% of the available points, you know, 25 versus 21.5, something like that. But it's so hard to distinguish yourself from other players. It's so hard to get points that it increases the importance of those 3.5 points. But you know, so if you're sharing the board top, you're going down from 25 to about 23.2 or something like that. So maybe not that big of a difference in the grand scheme of things, especially with a different scoring system being played in alternate rounds. But in any case, we see a shared board top, right? Which was a question coming in. Would we see a more shared board tops than normal because of the existence of the top board? At the moment, we're one of two. So.